In this video, we're going to look at a past HSC question that involves asking your students to construct a pedigree and how we can go about constructing pedigrees, and also how we could possibly use that pedigree to work out the probability or chances of certain offspring having a particular condition. So on the screen right now, I'll put up the question. It's from a past HSC, just so you can read it. So it won't fit on this board right here. So here is the HSC question. Alright, so before we start answering this question, a few quick reminders about what's required, what you need to have when you're drawing a pedigree. First thing is you always need to have a key. You always need to make sure you have a key in these when you're drawing a pedigree, to make sure that the person reading the pedigree knows what particular condition you're tracing through the pedigree, and also it helps us to know what's male and female and those things. So a male is always done by a square if they have no shading. If a male has a particular trait or condition, we're tracing through the pedigree, we shade that in. In this case, in this question, it would be red-green colour blindness. And females are always circles, and the same deal goes if the circle is shaded in. That means that female has that particular condition. So in the question we read that there's a guy called Nick, he has a wife called Maria, and Maria's family has a history of colour blindness, particularly in the males. And the question asks you to construct a pedigree to show how this colour blindness trait has been inherited through her family. So it starts off with the parents, who are called John and Anne. And when we're drawing pedigrees, we always connect the two people who have had offspring together with a line like I just did then. Then we draw a line down, and we draw here all their offspring that they've had. So they had 3 sons, one called James, another one called Paul, fix my square up, another one called Vincent. And it says in the question that Vincent and Paul both were colourblind, which means we colour them in because they had that condition. Then they had a daughter too, who is Maria, put an M there, and she is married to a guy called Nick, and they have a son, the question says, called Jack. So that's how we construct that pedigree. And the question only asked us to construct the family pedigree, didn't ask us anything about what the probability would be of Jack being colourblind. But we can do that quite quickly, because the question tells us that Anne up here is a carrier of colour blindness, which means it's a sex-linked trait. So we can quickly draw up a Punnett square. I'll do that quickly, and we can work out what the chances are, or what Maria's here, what her genotype might be, and what chances are that her son Jack could be colourblind. So a few quick reminders about doing sex linkage problems. Remember, on a Punnett square we use x and y's, if the 2 x's being female and xy being male. So on this Punnett square I've just drawn here, this male is John, and this female down here is Anne. And the question says that John is unaffected, which means we put up above the x as a superscript, a capital B, because he is not colourblind. If you have lowercase b there, that will mean he's colourblind. And we see that Anne is a carrier, so that means she is heterozygous for that particular trait. And that's how we draw it there. And we complete the Punnett square, same as we complete all other Punnett squares, with do our x's and our y's. Then we just carry across what's on the X chromosomes to work out what the potential of the offspring or the genotypes are. So let's do that quickly. Alright, so there's our potential offspring. Each time they have a baby, we're drawing in the chances of they're having a colourblind child. So, for John and Anne, 2 of their sons, Vincent and Paul, they're both colourblind, which means this would be their genotype down here. And James, who is the son, he's not colourblind, that's his genotype there, is the capital B, he's not colourblind. Now for Maria, that means she would be one of these 2 possibilities here. She'll either be homozygous dominant, which means she's not a carrier, or she could be a carrier. And it doesn't really matter if Nick doesn't have the condition, that means he's the same as his father-in-law up here, John. So it's what whether Maria's genotype is will determine whether Jack could be colourblind. So if Maria is this genotype here, Jack cannot be colourblind. But if she is this genotype down here, the same as her mother, that means there's a 50% chance that Jack could be colourblind. So that answers the question from the HSC about constructing the pedigree, but also a bit extra there about how we could use a pedigree if you ask the question, because quite often you are, to work out the genotypes and phenotypes of offspring based off a pedigree.